Welcome to another session of RM Smart Investing. I'm so pleased to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects many traders, but also many people in all aspects of their lives. And I call it all about fear. But specifically, what I'm going to talk about today is the 7 ways to overcome the fear of trading losses. What stops us from actually trading again because we've had the losing trades, and how we can overcome that. So before we start, what I want to define, and that's what I'm going to go dive into a little deeper, is what is this fear? Why we are hesitant on doing things? So the dictionary defines the fear, and as it now, is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc. Now, this is the important part, whether the threat is real or imagined. The feeling or condition of being afraid, a specific instance of or propensity for such a feeling, an abnormal fear of, let's say, heights, or concern or anxiety, solicitude, which is concern about somebody's health, a fear for someone's safety. So basically, again, the emphasis is we have to separate what is real and what is imagined. So a lot of times, I mean, we read a lot of self-help books. There's tons of psychology books, and they put the fear in such a negative light that as if fear hinders us. But it's important to understand that we do have a function of our brain. We call that alligator, actually, part of our brain, which is almost 700 million years. And there's a part of that brain is called amygdala. And amygdala is involved in several functions of the body, including arousal, autonomic responses, which is associated with fear, emotional responses, hormonal secretion, and memory. But this is the fear center. This is the one which is that fight or flight comes into the picture. So the idea is fear is not all that bad. Fear actually keeps us safe. So we have to accept that part. According, again, this is the Forrest Griffin, the boxer, or actually the UFC. It says fear is a good thing because it keeps you alive. But if it becomes so great that it hinders you from doing what you want, you need to confront it head on. Okay, this is from The Good Dinosaur. If you ain't scared, you ain't alive. You can't get rid of fear, but you can get through it. So this is, again, the reality. So let's talk about the good fear. The fear, again, keeps us safe. This is a young Frankenstein. Imagine if we had no fear, and we will just, our children, sometimes our young kids, approach the fire, petting wild animals. How about if we had no fear? The young children, imagine they're behind the wheels and driving all around on the freeways. Or if we didn't have any type of instruction in our intersections and didn't have any discipline or guidance, we constantly will have basically a number of collisions and accidents and deaths. So basically, again, the fear keeps us from those accidents. But also, when you think about fear, we think about creativity and innovation. Now, the innovation by itself, which is fantastic, the creativity, we can create things. But what makes it the reality is avoiding the risks with it, or taking care of that, actually, those risks. Imagine, the huge ships, heavy ships floating on the water, or large planes and spacecrafts and things that they're out of metal. Who would have thought about that? But over time, by working in taking care of the risk side of things, the risk management, that's where they become safe, the safety check. So again, it's the fear of dying, fear of getting injured, which forces us to come up with really almost a perfection in a way to make sure the things are being right. So here's what we have to again separate. You have to separate those real fears. It could be, again, the reality of if there is, you're walking and the car is approaching you, or call it approaching your child, or there's a wild animal coming at you, or the fire, versus the what if. What if this? What if that? The worrying, the anxiety, which, believe it or not, and that's what I want to emphasize right here, that's about 99% of our fears. So once we understand that, then it's a lot easier to confront it. So the real, it's good, keeps us safe. This is what actually destroys our health, our mental health, our physical health, because of that anxiety. So this is an old saying coming, probably from 1930s. There's some people say maybe FDR had said it. It's fear, it means false evidence appearing real. So it's our imagination. On the other hand, Aristotle says, he who has overcome his fears will truly be free. Again, the purpose on this is those imaginary. It's our assumption, our expectation of future, which creates that anxiety and that fear. And that's what we have to deal with. This is a really interesting quote from Zig Ziglar. Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. So basically that, again, that's a choice we have. And again, I'm emphasizing on the imaginary fear. Fear is nothing but a state of mind. All fears and worries stay away when you are full of courage and determination. So going back, it was really interesting. This is from Chapman University in Orange, California. They did this study in 2017, and they asked, what are the top 10 fears for that year? And it was really interesting. You see 74% of the people, this is here, corruption of government officials, American Health Care Act, of Trump Care, and then the pollution of oceans, rivers, and lakes. And then they go on talking about the pollution of drinking water, not having enough money for the future, which is a major concern for a lot of people, high medical bills. The US will be involved in another world war. That was 48%. Global warming and climate change, North Korea using weapons, and also, again, air pollution. One of the things I want to bring to your attention, once you're reading this, you might go back and say, you know what, some of these I'm not even concerned, or, I'm more concerned. And as you can see, they have looked at more on the government, and they kind of separated them by environment, economic, and again, man-made disasters. You see, there are quite a bit, when you think about it, made from the news and social media. So obviously there's exaggeration in what is out there, and people are very much reactive in some ways, and they have that recency bias, so they look at things that way. So just a food for thought. On the other hand, there's a UK's top 10 most search phobias. And again, you can separate to see, wow, fear of clusters, of small holes or bumps, fear of situation perceived to be unsafe with no easy way to escape, when health worries take over your life, and intense fear of tight or crowded spaces, fear of houses or being in a house, intense and persistent fear of the sea, intense and irrational fear of spiders or other arachnids, extreme or irrational fear of heights, extreme irrational fear of water, discomfort caused by light. So again, are they real, or they just assumptions? This is an old, really that a lot of people, it's common now, this is when you ask people, what are you most afraid of? Speaking before a group, 41% is much higher than death. So there's a high, it's insects and bugs, financial problems, deep water, sickness, death, and flying. And the last but not least of all these, I just want to go back to last year. And what is America's top 10 fears? And you see that score the highest is loved ones dying, and 65% of people, they were afraid or very afraid. Loved one becoming seriously ill, mass shooting, not having enough money for retirement, terrorism, government corruption, becoming terminally ill, hate crimes, high medical bills, widespread civil unrest. Again, I want to pay attention to the role of the news media and the social media in that. So let's go to the reality, and what we are here is, what about in trading? Of course, we bring all our baggage with us. So we are that person now looking at the career, let's say in trading. So what are some of the fears that we have in trading generally, and how we can overcome them? I got 7 that could come to my mind, so I want to share those with you. The number one is fear of losing money, and that's the one we will emphasize. We will talk about that. It's the trading losses, but mainly we are, we've worked hard for our money, we have a capital. So what can we do to avoid that? And that's managing our risk, managing our capital. You want to invest or trade with the money that it's not going to affect your livelihood, your day-to-day lifestyle. So that's one of the ways to avoid that. The fear of failure. Now, the fear of failure comes from our childhood. We are expected to be perfect. We are supposed to be good, have good grades. We're supposed to be good at sports. We're supposed to be polite and good and not to say no and always behave. So anything that we don't do is perceived as that we are not good enough. So basically then that failure stays with us again, whether it's from the parents and family, whether it's our teachers, our coaches. So what you have to do, you have to accept the probabilities. When you're trading, it's the game of probabilities. So for instance, for me, before I enter any trade, and I do accept that I will be wrong about 1/3 of the time. So basically, I have accepted that there is no 100%. 2/3 of the time, on the other hand, the trades that I'm going, I know I will succeed. So that's all you need to know, that there is a game of probability. The third thing is fear of not knowing what happens next. We always want to have everything 100%, and then we don't know what's going to happen. So there's a lot of things that are beyond our control. So how can we overcome that? That comes to educating ourselves, educating on all aspects of our trading. We want to make sure that we are good understanding the psychology. That's what we're trying to do. We want to understand the macroeconomics, how the world actually works, the economic world works. What about the technical knowledge? What about fundamental knowledge? The more we know, it is a little easier to digest what is happening in our surrounding. So it is not a randomly, we just pick and choose something and we just go with the flow. So that's the other way: education, education, education. Fear of giving back our profits. Now, what we want to do, we want to set our targets and stick to our trading plan. This is one of the best ways to really have that discipline and not to worry too much, because again, we talk about probability. So if you have your targets, if you have your stop losses, then you will not have to worry too much about this. Fear of success. This is interesting because a lot of times, of course, people are working more on fear of failure. It's actually fear of success plays a big role. So basically, we think that if I become very successful, I will be famous, for instance. I have the expectations that people going to come to me all the time, ask my opinion. You know what? I'll just like to be on the radar. I don't want to have all that. So this is your subconscious, and it comes from your self-worth, about how you value yourself. How do we value ourselves? What is that we have to work on to know that it's okay to be successful and be famous if you need to. Fear of making too much money. That's another way of looking at our money beliefs, thinking that, oh my God, if I succeed so much in my trading, what will happen is it's almost like a lottery syndrome. Oh, I got to help this someone. I know people are going to be at my door. They want my money. These might sound funny, but these are real. So what we do a self-sabotage. We set up barriers. If you make 100,000, we think, oh, that's good enough. We've had this money belief that, again, that, you know, the money is evil, for instance. Money is not good. So basically we sabotage ourselves, and then it comes from our childhood. So what happens is we don't want to make too much money because it could be a headache. The last but not least that I put down is the fear of missing out. We're constantly rushing into trades because of what if? What if this bus leaves without me? I'm going to be on that bus. So if you want to have, you have that concern, make your plans in advance. It's setting up the limits. So you have to have your trading plan, set it up, know that what will be what the steps you have to take. And by doing so, then you will be part of that journey. But do not rush, because for every bus that comes, there's another bus is leaving. So there's constantly, these buses are coming. We've used this before, but it's really still interesting that the greed and buy, the emotional roller coaster that we go through. And here, you know, the fears that actually the ultimate, and we've already thrown the towel. And believe it or not, at that moment, things start moving at the extremes. So I just shared this with you because I think, you know, it's such an interesting contradiction in so many ways. You know, we have the euphoric right on the top, and we have dismay and discourage right on the bottom. So if you ever watched the Trading Psychology, we've done a video, and this is from that. I would encourage you to watch that as a whole, as a trading guidance, mainly from the psychological point of view. But again, I really like this. A winner is just a loser who tried one more time. And I think that says a lot. So why we want to control, when we talk about trading, we talked about amygdala. So once you have the fundamentals, once you have the understanding how the markets work, once you have your trading plans, as we will talk, you will be in a low emotion, in a calm and relaxed. And because of that, your higher cortex is in a state of soundness. It will make the decisions. This is your decision-making, the right decisions, the logical. But when you have high emotions, as anger, fear, excitement, love, hate, disgust, frustration, and all at once, and if you've really blown up your accounts or you had a losing trades, all of a sudden, you end up doing all of these. You have the fear, and then you're angry, you're breaking things, and then you have frustration, or you can go opposite. You love the greed, you love what you've done, and you just keep trading and trading with a larger and larger capital. And so that's all emotion, because your higher cortex is disabled. Because of that, basically, you're not making logical decisions. So let's discuss what we are the subject today is about the 7 ways to overcome the fear of trading losses. So I'm looking at the monetary side of things, that you are maybe you've blown up your accounts and you just are very heavy-footed. You don't want to trade again. Or if you are, you know, you just keep back of your mind, think, oh my God, this is going to be another losing trade. So how we can overcome that? So there's the 7 things. Number 1, in order to overcome that fear, and I emphasize this a lot, and I call it know thyself. You have to know why you are a trader. Not everyone is really built to be a trader. Not everyone is an entrepreneur. So you have to really be honest with yourself, and we have to know why. Why are we here? So it comes from our self-worth. It goes back to, again, our childhood. Do we feel worthy of success? Are we worthy of succeeding in our trades, making the money? Our money beliefs, as I mentioned, money played a positive role in our lives, or we've been told constantly is a negative role for the money, and people become evil if they have a lot of money. And you have to know your causes and why. Your causes are, you have big mission in life. You like to do things for others or yourself. And we want to know what is our why. And because of that, we can, again, it's more of a soul searching and understanding that who we are. And the problem is sometimes we do the trading for the wrong reasons. Oh, I hate my job. Okay. Are we replacing that with this? Or I have lots of debt and I have to pay off this. So somebody told me, well, if you're a trader, you can make a lot of money at a short time. So those are not the right reasons. It goes a lot deeper than that. And that's why I put what is within you. This comes from inside. Trading is very much internally oriented. So do some soul searching, be real, be honest with yourself, be authentic. And then if you have that covered, I believe 50% is covered and you will be successful. Late Nelson Mandela says, learn to know yourself, to search realistically and regularly the process of your own mind and feelings. So this is a process continuously. Second thing, if you want to come over that fear of, again, trading losses, is the risk management. Risk. We talked about, again, think about a pilot, think about a driver, think about a doctor. A surgeon, we have to check all the instruments. We want to make sure everything is controlled. And in risk management, basically, that's being defensive. Now, the World Cup around, with the finals coming up, you see this is, and I've witnessed this. I mean, this is so true. Offense wins games, but defense wins championship. I want to go back and look at all the World Cup finals and see what won the championship. There's few, obviously, there's another saying that offense sells tickets, but defense wins championship. So how do we approach this? Make sure you have a limited number of your capital at risk. So the suggestion is 1%, and I would say 3% maximum loss per day of your capital, which is dedicated for the trading. So if you lost that, then you have another day to come back. So for me, I usually do 2% of my capital, depending on how much is your capital. So the higher it is, actually, you can do more. The lower the capital, you have to be more careful, by the way. So you can start with 1%. So for me, it's 2%. What does that mean? That means that if I was on a worst losing streak and I lost 50 days in a row, that's when I will wipe my whole capital. So that means after losing 2% today, I have another day to come back and refine what I'm doing. Now, if you had a 25% loss, and unfortunately, sometimes what happens, because of revenge or whatever thoughts we have, we start, as the markets, let's say, going down, we continuously start buying, so buying losers. And what happens is our losses getting bigger and bigger with the hope. And so let's say you have 25% loss, that only allows you for 4 days. So after that, you're done. The third thing is, what is your trading plan? You have to have a plan. You have to have a discipline to follow it. And then come back from education and what you have learned. And the main reason some people don't have trading plan, because we follow others. You just have to remember, you are unique. and you are who you are. We talked about your belief system. It goes back to your self-analysis. Unfortunately, what happens, and it happens a lot, if you go to the parties and people start bragging about all the good things that they're doing in trading and how successful they are, but yet still, after many years, still doing their job. And some people might come and ask for sympathy because they lost something. So you go on YouTube, on social media, and try to follow. The reason a lot of people are not successful, and they can go to these trading rooms and they try to follow, they're not successful because, again, you're unique. Your brain is completely wired differently. So don't compare yourself to others. I give you this story, and I've used it for when I teach my classes at the universities, for like MBA students. I've shared this with them, and I've said that, if in this situation, let's say yesterday we had our Fed chairman, Chairman Powell, speaking. If it came to your room the night before or 5 minutes before and said, this is exactly what I'm going to do, give you all the facts, why he's doing it, and let's say there's 100 of you, I believe 50 of you will do completely opposite of the other 50. 50% go long, 50% will go short. They heard exact same thing. The facts were there. It's our perception. How did we digest that? So please, again, that's what goes back to understand who you are and also self-educate. Now that you've done, let's say you've been doing and you have some specific strategies, you have tried them, are they working? For our group, for instance, we have our CPI trade, we have our non-farm payroll trade, we have gap trade, we have chalk trades, we have bond and gold strategies. Now, over time, have they been working? How you have been behaving with that? And it's the repetition. If it does, then that's your part of your trading plan. You should not have 100 different ones. You should have the discipline of following. And if it's working, then that gives you the confidence, knowing that even if it didn't work one time, it has been working pretty good in different environments. So I will continue with that. How about your indicators? You have technical indicators. Are they working? Whether we talk about the commodity channel index, or MACDs, or DMIs, the stochastics, linear regression channels, moving averages, the squeeze. So have the few and follow those rules. By having that discipline, it gives you actually the confidence. By having that confidence, then you're willing to walking and making those trades. Also, every day, if you can, review your past trades and your journal. Think about, if let's say you look at the yesterday's action, and let's say you didn't trade, but you look at the action and you say, well, if I would have applied my strategy, it would have been good or bad day, and find out where you could improve. Review past week's action. That's what I do on Saturday evenings. I look back for the whole week. I look at the trades that I did, what worked, what didn't work, how could I, again, refine it. And at the end of the day or end of the week, see that, are they in tune with your plan? What decisions you were making, did you apply your discipline, and did you apply your plan? The next is, take a break. Whether if you are not physically or emotionally or mentally up to it, then you don't have to be in a trade. So if as soon as you understand that, and if things are not going your way, take a break. For me, the rule is 3 losing trades when I hit my stops in a row, and I'm out. I take a break. There's no reason to be there. There's no revenge. As I mentioned, there's another trading day, especially if you do futures trading, for instance. You have 5 days, almost 23 hours a day to do that, or Forex, or so. Be patient. And this is so important, that you don't want to be in and out of the market. Wait for the best opportunities to come to you. Your time is valuable. If you have the right setups, if you've had the right strategies, then it will come to you. The markets will tell you, listen, this is a good time. You have a high probability of success. And of course, learn from predators. Predators have limited energy. They're not going to chase after 100 of their prey. They will look one or two, which looks the weakest, and they will go after that. And find the best of the best, whether you're doing option strategies, whether you're doing stock investments, do a little analysis and find what is the cream of the crop. This is from Jesse Livermore, and he says, after spending many years in Wall Street and after making and losing millions of dollars, I want to tell you this. It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It was always my sitting. Got that? My sitting tight. So be patient. And the last but not least, I think this is very important, again, about state of your mind. First of all, practice, practice, practice. Learn, learn, learn. Mindset, mindset, mindset. So what I mean by that, the driving, the first time you start driving, you had to really focus on every aspect of it. You want to make sure the mirror is right, your seat is situated right, you look at, the lights are working, you think. And the same thing with sports. If you do things correctly, then it becomes a habit. These tiny things, they become large habits. The question is doing them. You don't want to be a casual investor or trader. You want to watch the markets. You don't have to trade them, but you can mentally practice them. Let's say you're watching the markets and you say, this is what I would have done. If you have strategies, even if you're not in it, you can make some observations, have a trading journal. I am a big advocate. You want to start with a simulated account, a paper trading, because it gives you a sense of not only the technical knowledge, but your psychological knowledge, but also the mechanical knowledge, because you might getting and put the wrong order in and make the wrong decisions. You were going to go long and you went short. By paper trading, you can avoid that. And eventually what happens with training your mind, you become subconsciously masterful in that. Remember that the fear of losing manifests itself. So if you're constantly thinking that, oh, I'm going to make the wrong step, oh, I'm a loser, your brain is funny. It always looks for the answers for you. So if you put yourself down, it will help you with that. If you pick yourself up, it will pick you up as well. But this comes with practice. A lot of athletes, you have noticed that for hours, for basketball players, they practice shooting. No, these are master athletes. Why do they do that? Because they get, they actually have the physical memory of the way that they shoot. And the same thing happens in trading. So what are you feeding your mind? Or what are you feeding? Should be your mind. So what are you feeding your mind? So basically, let me just correct that since we are together here. Or let's even change it to make it even more impact. What are we feeding our mind? So start feeding the right things. And with that in mind, I hope it was helpful. This is something, again, we've talked about psychology and how important that is. I think it's about 50% at least of psychology, and the other 50 help you to become confident and become having more of a conviction of that you're doing the right thing. So with that in mind, I'm going to start the recording.